Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
Well, thanks for joining us on Farm Connections, where we're with Justin Hanson.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, thanks for joining us on this beautiful day with a nice background of a buffer strip, a farmer moving across the field, some windmills back there. We're into the planting season in Grand Meadow, Minnesota, Mower County. What do you have to say about such a nice day?
Well, thanks a lot for getting me out of the office to start. This is a fantastic way to kick off the year.
Well, from visiting with you in the past, I know that your office is part of your work, but you also do a lot of field work, in the field kind of thing. Can you tell us what you do for the farmers and for the landowners in Mower County?
Well, SWCD, or Soil and Water Conservation Districts, are in kind of a unique position because we're where the rubber meets the road. We're the direct contact with landowners and producers. So our primary purpose is to take state and federal programs that are available to these individuals and then deliver it locally and kind of sift through some of the legislative language and some of the bureaucracy stuff and deliver a program to our producers and work with them to find a fit that works best for their farm.
You know, Chuck Cairns, the property owner here, talked to us a little bit and talked about his buffer strip and why he put it in there. What can you tell us about this process of putting in a buffer strip and why they're important?
Well, I think buffers are important because we know that they work. They're on the landscape. They are the last line of defense, and they're in the front lines on protecting our water resources.
Well, we're standing in Chuck Cairns' waterway. It's a designed, informed waterway, and beyond that is filtering or also buffer strips. How does that work?
Well, a lot of our guys, we have a strong conservation ethic in Mower County specifically, and I think that carries out to a lot of the different areas in the Corn Belt. But our guys have really been receptive to this treatment train approach, where, just like you said, you might start on the high ground with a grass waterway or little check dams, you know, these sediment control basins that get designed in the land to slow the water down and hold the soil. And then as you work your way down, filter strips along the streams, right at where the land meets the stream. Those are great places for filtering whatever hasn't been filtered out on the way down through those other practices.
Well, in this case, the landowner actually was voluntarily decided he wanted to put a buffer strip in, and his father before him. So it's part of a family tradition, and of course his grandfather actually farmed this soil first. What advantages are there to the landowner to having a buffer strip, a waterway, and or a filter strip?
Well, primarily it holds the land in place, right? And it saves it for future generations as well. And those guys don't want to lose their soil any more than we want to see it get into the streams. So it's a great working relationship that way, because we both have the same goal of holding the soil on the land.
Justin, what's involved with actually constructing or putting a buffer strip in place?
Well, typically the transition works pretty easily, because those areas oftentimes are coming from cropland, so the land is already conditioned to being worked up and the seed bed is almost ready to go. And so what we do is the seed that gets planted, we just broadcast seed right over the top of it, or drill it in with a no-till drill and just very lightly incorporate that seed, get good seed soil contact. And then what will happen is, we use a native grass type mix, so we're trying to get back to the way things were historically, the prairie grasses that we had out here 250 years ago, or simulate it to some extent, because that's the greatest amount of filter that you're going to get for the money that the programs are helping assist with.
Does your agency have equipment the farmers can use to plant or maintain the property?
Yeah, our situation works good. It's the same as a lot of soil and water districts, is that we have a broadcast seeder and no-till drill right in the office. So we kind of act as a one-stop shop. We can talk the landowners through what mixes are going to work best for that land and what they need to get into the program as well. And so we got that option. They can seed it themselves with a no-till drill, or we can come out and do the broadcast seeding.
There's a sizable elevation difference between this landowner's program or buffer strip that's been around for 14 years and the one that's only about 3 years old. Why is that, and is it a natural thing?
Well, this is a good this is a good illustration, a visual of what happens when a filter strip's been around for a long time. So the soil has had years of runoff that's kind of been creeping into that filter strip over many years, and it's actually settled out in there before it's actually got to the stream. And so what happens is it keeps on kind of growing and building up a little bit, and it's an illustration that shows that the filter strip is working and being effective.
Have you got some places or examples of sites where they're thinking about buffer strips that we could look at?
We were lucky enough, and this is a perfect example of how cooperative sitting down around a table and working through the issues can be. We had the landowner and the renter and myself sitting down and saying, hey, what do we got to do to fix this issue? What's available? What's the best way to make this farm productive long term? And so I thought that was a great case of how all three of us working together can get at the right solution. And everybody was in agreement that something needed to be done, and I think we've got a great plan. And this spring, that area will get seeded down, and we'll have permanent protection, actually, on a piece that really needs it.
You mentioned FSA, or Farm Service Agency. Do you partner with them often?
Yeah, we partner with several agencies, and Farm Service Agency is one of our sister agencies, you'd say. We work very closely together because they pay the bills and take care of the cost share of the things that the money side of things.
The landowner mentioned two programs, CRP and also RIM. What is that, and how can it be used to help the farmer?
Well, CRP is the Conservation Reserve Program. We've changed the program a little bit over those years, in that we've made it very specific, and it's more surgical. So the way that we look at it is, rather than rolling 80 acres of great farmland in a good economic time, now we can take and get those down to what are your 2 or 3 most critical areas, and then get folks enrolled in the program and get them a payment that offsets their loss. So our landowner out here, he could be farming much of this ground and making an income off that land, and so you have to have an offset to encourage him to not do that. And so by enrolling in the program, he gets a rental rate that's competitive with what rates are in the area, in the neighborhood right now. And in exchange for that, then he sets it aside and provides this buffer for the greater good.
Justin, thanks so much for sharing the great information and your time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Dan.